course, that was only finalized late yesterday. They didn't get really much information.
Okay.
But that allows them to be on small screens at home if they want.
Good Yantif. Gmar Chatima Tova. It's wonderful to see all of you here in the Molish Sanctuary to join together in this solemn day of worship, reflection, repentance, prayer. Before we begin, I just want to remind you that if you're interested, BAFTI is hosting a service in our courtyard, and it's certainly especially open to those who are in their teen years, and the teens out there did a really wonderful job creating an inspiring worship experience. So anybody who'd like to be part of that is welcome. We're going to begin on page 135. Those who are at home, first of all, welcome. We're glad to have you with us on live stream, and we're certainly grateful to have the resources to be able to provide that kind of technology. We also wanted to let everybody know that the service can also be accessed through Facebook Live and through YouTube. So if you have a smart device that accesses those, you can find us there as well. We stand this day, all of us, in the presence of our God, youth and elders, women and men, those close to tradition and those who have been estranged. All are welcome in this community of prayer. Around the world, all Israel greets this holy day. We stand with them, a people united by our history and fate, linked in mind and heart to generations past, who stood before God to be cleansed of their sins in Russia, Poland, Germany, and Spain, in Morocco, Egypt, Brazil, and India. Our great-grandparents are here with us today, and our great-great-grandchildren as well. All are present in memory and hope. We stand this sacred morning, all of us, as one. Page 138, Matovu Ohelecha Yaakov.
Makom ishkun kvod
Donny Mussing's captivating melody to Ma Tovu, Good Yontif Betham. Before we continue with the Asher Yatzah on page 156, may I respectfully remind all of us that even though this is the 6th or 7th consecutive year that we have the privilege of using the gold and the silver, aka Mishkan Hanefesh, I want us really to be sure of how best to use these magnificent volumes. Remember that the keva, the obligatory, statutory, traditional prayer motifs, are all found on the right-hand side of the pages. The left-hand pages are either gray or blue tinted. The gray tinted pages reflect contemporary, non-literal, modern interpretations, citations, commentaries, explanations of one kind or another. We invite you, we really do, we invite you to get lost in the machzor. I mean that sincerely, I really do. We incorporate the gray tinted pages occasionally. The blue tinted pages, however, are not actively used from behind the pulpit, but those are specifically meant for individual private study. Extraordinary reservoirs of meaning and of understanding, and we urge you to look at those pages too as we proceed. But to all intents and purposes, we're on 156, and we invite you to join with us. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatsa et hadam b'chokhmah, uvaravo nekavim nekavim, chalulim chalulim. Together, blessed are you, Holy One, who has formed the human body with wisdom, an intricate network of channels, vessels, and openings. This wondrous structure and the flow of life within us allows us to stand before you and give thanks. Let us cherish this gift of flesh and blood, honor it as God's creation. Baruch atah Adonai, rofei chol basar, umafli la'asot. We praise you, Holy One, for wondrous acts of creation and of healing. We continue now, again, another giant leap of faith that we take, page 178. If you're able to, we invite you please to rise for the Baruch. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hapotech lanu sha'arei rachamim, umeir einei hamachakim lislichato, yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol, or olam ba'otzer chayim, orot me ofel amar vayehi. the middle of page 181. Like an unbroken current, energy streams from the source, bathing the planet in light, calling forth life, movement, mind unfolding from matter, the power to love. And we offer it back to you, our own creative energy, ever dreaming, building, shaping patterns out of chaos, searching out light in the darkness. Creation never ceases, not for an instant. All life is aglow with your light. All things draw sustenance from the source. Baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha-me'orot. Page 185. Hineni, behold, I stand ready to listen and to learn, to embrace in thought and in deed, to proclaim with a whole heart the sacred unity of all being. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher bamo Yisrael be'ahava.
Shalom Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבדך ושלמתם על לבדך ודיברת בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Page 195. And they shall know that I, Adonai, am their God, who brought them out of the land of Egypt, that I might abide among them, I, Adonai, their God. You took us out of the darkness so that your light might dwell among us. You showed us your power to bring down the powerful, uplift the enslaved, transform the social order. You showed us your strength so that we might remember our own. We carry the Exodus vision wherever we go, lest we forget our sense of liberation, lest we lose the joy of breathing free, lest we grow indifferent and blind to others' pain. So long as we work to make you present, we walk the path of freedom. But if we forget to bring you into this world, then we return to the darkness.
Yahweh, חדש שבחו גאולים לשבחו על שפת היום יוחד כולם אחודו והמליכו ויאמרו אדוני
Baruch Shemo.
Baruch atah Adonai Elokeinu Velokei Avoteinu ve'Imoteinu Elokei Abraham Elokei Yitzchak Velokei Yaakov Elokei Sarah Elokei Rivka Elokei Rachel Velokei Leah אלך הגדול, לך גיבור וחנורו, אל עליון, גם אליך חסדים טובים, וקונך הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניכם, למען שמו בכבוד. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר חיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם וזרוע צרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחייך כולתו רב להושיע, מוריד חתול, מחלקה לחיים בחסד, בחייך כל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים באמונתו לשעיני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גיבורות ומידו מלוך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, מי כמוך אל ונאמרו להחיות הכול, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכול.
Please be seated. And before Cantor and Mark continue with Untitled Chapter on page 208, an introduction, the blue tinted pages on 206 and 207 to engage our senses at this particular point. So a study text or two silently for our edification before Untitled Chapter. Together, let us proclaim the power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise for your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love, your reign is a reign of truth. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal, you record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark and imprint like no other.
Uveshofar gadol yitakav kol dmama daka yishama. And so, together, a great shofar will cry, Tkiah. A still small voice will be heard. Angels in a whirl of fear and trembling will say, Behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes, even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you, like sheep before their shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decide destiny, you inscribe judgments.
وبيوم Kippur Yachatimun, Baruch Hashanah Yikatimun, וביום Kippur Yachatimun, קמו יעברון, וחמו יברכון, מי יחיה ומי ימות, מי וקצו ומי לא וקצו. בראש השנה יחתימון, וביום Kippur יחתימון. בראש השנה יחתימון, וביום Kippur יחתימון. מי ומים ומי ואש, מי וחרב ומי וחיות, מי ורב ומי וצמח, מי ורב ומי ומגפה. בראש השנה יחתימון, וביום Kippur יחתימון. בראש השנה יחתימון, וביום Kippur יחתימון. מי וחניקו ומי וסקילו, מי ינוח ומי ינוח, מי ישקיט ומי יטורף, מי ישלב ומי יתייסר. בראש השנה יחתימון, וביום Kippur יחתימון. בראש השנה יחתימון, וביום Kippur יחתימון. מי יעני ומי ישיר, מי ישאל ומי בראש השנה יחתימון, וביום Kippur יחתימון. בראש השנה יחתימון, וביום Kippur יחתימון. ותשובו ותבלו
Please join with me in the English. On Rosh Hashanah, this is written. On the fast of Yom Kippur, this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted? But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree. I invite you to rise if you're able as we turn to page 218. L'dor vador nagid gadlecha, v'lenetzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush leolam va'ed, ki el melech gadol v'kadosh ata. We continue silently all the way through page 250. You may be seated if you'd like, or you may remain standing, and we'll join back together in a few moments.
Page 252. To open the ark for Avinu Malkeinu, we are delighted to call upon David and Cynthia Gruber and Mark and Rita Kenny to please step forward at this point. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, you have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu va'alol Aleinu v'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families. Avinu Malkeinu, Kalei dever v'cherev v'ra'av me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kalei kol tsar mastin me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, kotvenu b'sefer chaim tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu,
Enter our names in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu, Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us the year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu, malei yadeinu mibirchotecha.
Avinu Malkeinu,
Let our hands overflow with your blessings.
Avinu Malkeinu, Hareim Keren Meshichecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption. Avinu Malkeinu, na'al tashivenu rekam milfanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu,
We pray, do not turn us away from you with nothing.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kabel Barachamim Uvratzon et Tefilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it. Avinu Malkeinu, asay imanu lema'an shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu,
Act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu, Aseh Lemancha im lo lemanenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours. Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ela ata. Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu, Ptach Sha'arei Shemaim Litfilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu, Chus v'rachem aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu,
Hear our voice, treat us with tender compassion. Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu v'anenu, Ki ein banu ma'asim, Aseh manu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chadeinu
Seder Kriyat HaTorah. Let the reading of Torah be like prayer. Every word a blessing, every verse a conversation with God.
Ein kabuch va Elohim Adonai ve'ein k'ma'asecha malachotecha malachut kol olamim u'memshaletecha bechol dor v'ador Adonai melech Adonai melech Adonai melech le'olam va'ed Adonai uz le'amayitein Adonai Baruch Kedamu Hashanah Rachamim V'tiva v'ratzonecha et Zion Tivnei Chamut Yerushalayim Ki echol avad batachnu Melech el Ram v'nisa Adon olamim.
Adonai, Adonai, Eo Rachum V'Chanun, Erechapayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Notzer Chesed L'Alafim, Nosei Avon V'Fesha, V'Chata'a V'Nakei. Together.
Adonai, Adonai, God compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving and true, showing mercy to the 1000th generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chadun, Erachapayim v'Chesed v'Emet, Notzer Chesed l'Olafim, Noser Avon v'Fesha, v'Chadar v'Anoki. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'Norosh Shemo. Gadol Adonai ti, Onarom lemu Shemayachdav, Lecha Adonai chagedula, v'chagavura, v'chatiferet, v'chaneриtzak v'achot, ki chol b'shamayim v'aretz, ki chol b'shamayim v'aretz, lecha Adonai chagam lecha, v'chanit nasei lechol l'rosh.
So, this morning, for our Torah reading, we are reading from Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 9, beginning with verse 9. It starts on page 266, and it's my pleasure to call forward Steve Green, who is going to read Torah for us, followed by, do we have two more?
Yes, we do.
Jean Schneer
And
Harvey Halper. So we are going to do a bracha, and then 3 readers in a row, and then the closing bracha, which is why I called all of you up here just to be on deck. Welcome. So it is my great pleasure this morning to invite to stand in your place where you are for COVID safety reasons. We would like to call on anyone who is gathered here this morning, online or in person, who is an educator, who is a teacher of any kind, working in preschool, daycare, university, anybody who teaches in our community. We really would love to honor you in our Beth Am family this particular Yom Kippur. So if you are in that category, I'd like to invite you to rise and join together in the bracha on page 258. On Shalosh. Chat, Shtayim, Shalosh. Baruch et Adonai HaMorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem, Rashechem, Shiftechem, Ziknechem, Veshotrechem, Kol Ish Yisrael. Tapchem Nishechem, Vegeracha, Asher Bekerv Machanecha, מכותב עצך עד שואב ממך. לעברך בברית, אדוני אלוהיך ובעלתו, אשר אדוני אלוהיך כורת עמך היום, למען הקימותך היום לעולם, והוא יהיה לך לאלוהים כאשר דיבר לך, וכאשר נשבע לאבותיך, לאברהם, ליצחק וליעקב. ולא איתכם לבדכם, אנוכי כורת את הברית הזאת ואת העלה הזאת, כי את אשר ישנו פה עמנו עומד היום לפני אדוני אלוהינו, ואת אשר איננו פה עמנו היום.
Jean is going to continue beginning on verse 11 of chapter 30. It can be found near the bottom of page 267.
No? Ki ha-mitzvah הזאת.
כי המצווה הזאת אשר אנוכי מצווך היום, לא נפלאת היא ממך ולא רחוקה היא, לא בשמיים היא לאמור, מי יעלה לנו השמיימה ויקחיה לנו וישמיענו אותה ונעשנה, ולא מעבר לים היא לאמור, מי יעבר לנו אל עבר הים ויקחיה לנו וישמיענו אותה ונעשנה. כי קרוב אליך הדבר מאוד, בפיך ובלבבך לעשותו. ראה נתתי לפניך היום את החיים ואת הטוב ואת המוות ואת הרע, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום, לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך, ללכת בדרכיו ולשמור מצוותיו וחוקותיו ומשפטיו, וחיית ורבית וברכך אדוני אלוהיך בארץ אשר אתה בשמה לרשתה.
Harvey's going to continue with verse 17. Just a little note that his grandson is also reading Torah out in the courtyard this morning. Thank you, Jean.
ואם יפנה, correct? ואם יפנה. Good luck. ואם יפנה לבבך
Kol lishma v'nidakta hishtachavita le'Elohim acherim v'avatam higadeti lachem hayam ki avod tovedun lo tarichun yamim ahadama asher ata over et hayardain lava shama larista haidoti vachem hayom et hashemayim v'ha'aretz hakayim v'hamavet natati livanecha habaracha v'haklala uvachorta b'chayim l'man tihyeh ata v'zarecha li'ahava et Adonai Elohecha lishmo b'kolo udav kavo ki hu chayecha v'yorech yamecha lashevet al hadama asher nishba Adonai la'avotecha li'Avraham li'Yitzchak v'Yaakov latet lahem.
Yeshua. Teachers, educators, if you would rise again so we can offer the concluding blessing on page 258. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Teachers, if you could remain standing, I'd be honored to offer the following blessing. It has been said that teachers think they're teaching us what they know. They hope they're teaching us what they believe, but all they can ever really teach us is who they are. Each of you, in your own corner of our learning world, shows your students and our world who you are and how to be in times of trial. We are grateful to you for all you have done to keep our community and our world together. For all our learners, young and old, throughout these especially challenging pandemic circumstances. Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua taught, the dignity of your students should be as precious to you as your own. The dignity of your colleagues should be as precious to you as the reverence for your teacher. And the reverence for your teacher should be as great as your reverence for God. Our reverence for you in these times has only grown. And so we offer you this blessing. Mishaberach Horenu, Sarah v'Avraham, Yitzchak v'Rivka, Leah v'Rachel v'Yaakov. May the one who blessed our ancestors, who upheld and protected them through danger and despair, uphold and protect all the educators who serve our community in this time of illness and peril. Bless the teachers and the child care providers. Bless the aides, the madrichim, and administrative and maintenance staff who hold together our educational endeavors. And help our students maintain their social, spiritual, mental, and academic health. Bless all of you who bring your bodies and breath close to other people's bodies and breath in order to teach our children, while the pandemic keeps so many of the rest of us distanced. May you be blessed with health of body and spirit. May you be blessed with strength of limb and purpose. May you be blessed with moments of joy and refreshment. May you be met every day with the gratitude and the support that you deserve. May each person with whom you interact mask and distance appropriately and respect the risks you take on our behalf. And like Rabbi Ami's students used to say to one another, may you see your world in your lifetime. May your eyes sparkle with the light of Torah and your face shine with the brilliance of the heavens. May you speak words of wisdom, and may the deeds of righteousness you do fill your body with joy. And may your feet hurry to hear the words of the Ancient One who sets the cycles in motion. May Shomer Yisrael, guardian of all who struggle daily to keep learning alive, ease your struggles and smooth your paths. May you be kept from sickness and fear. May you be blessed in your going out and blessed in your coming home, today and every day. Amen.
Thank you. Magbir v'golelet, Marcy and Hal, may we call upon you for the holding and for the dressing of the Torah at this time. We'd be delighted to have you please come forward, and as you do, we ask you please to rise.
Torah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. שבת אחים גם יחד,
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה
מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב
To our three outstanding Ba'alei Kriya this morning, Shai Green, Jean Schneer, and Harvey Halper, Yasher Kochachem, to all of you. Beautiful, thank you. Seder Kriyat HaHaftarah. Before continuing, friends, with this morning's Haftarah service, on behalf of our President Josh Posnan, it's our very great pleasure at this time, by way of an introduction to a very special Haftarah reading this morning, to call upon Linda Klein and Sharon Whitney, good, they're in the house, our new co-vice presidents of social action, to please step forward. Linda and Sharon, thank you. Yeah, from the pulpit. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Sharon Whitney, co-chair of the Social Action Committee. The Social Action Committee is dedicated to projects to support our community and Jewish values. We address issues relating to food insecurity, climate change, racial justice, interfaith understanding, refugee assistance, and voting rights, as well as other service projects. My participation with Social Action began as a general board member, and I have been a co-chair for Mitzvah Day for several years with Stu Greenberg and Art Davis. I saw what an amazing job Stu did as the single chair for Social Action. And when I was asked to take over for him 2 years ago, I had to regretfully decline, citing my time constraints due to my full-time job and family responsibilities when my kids were in high school and college at the time. They brought in Sandy Bueller and Fred Goldstein as co-chairs. Sandy and Fred really raised the bar for the committee and initiated some incredible projects and expanded and solidifying the mission for social action. They left some really big shoes to fill, but with my able partner and friend, Linda Klein, we will continue the great work they did, as well as focusing on our own platforms. We are grateful for Sandy and Fred's ongoing leadership and support in continuing to lead our projects addressing food insecurity and interfaith events with several other faith communities. Our meeting schedule is on Shul Cloud, and keep an eye out for announcements for projects and events. Mitzvah Day especially involves multiple projects and collections, and we will need project captains and lots of volunteers. My participation with social action has enhanced my experience as a Beth Omnic, and I have learned a great deal about critical issues in our community, country, and world. I've also had a great time working on our projects and made lasting friendships. We have such a variety of projects that relate to so many needs. Everyone can find a way to support their community through social action.
Hi, I'm Linda Klein, co-VP of Social Action. I'm a very active member of Sisterhood and other areas of Beth Am. I'm grateful to be able to work with Sharon and our incredible group of volunteers to help make positive difference in the world through our Jewish values. Sharon and I are very fortunate to have stepped into our positions with such well-established projects already in place, which continue to be spearheaded by our predecessors. While Fred and Sandy are continuing their hard work on food insecurities and interfaith projects, they need help. We all need help. The more people we have working on ongoing projects and upcoming projects, the more of a positive impact we can have on our community and beyond. We urge you to join us in social action in any way you can, but mostly with your time and your passion. This year's projects include multiple food drives, including an ongoing collection for the Jenkintown Food Pantry, Interfaith Multicultural Week, voting rights activities, blood drives, Mitzvah Day, collections of pet supplies, coats, and shoes. We participate in activities through RAC PA, which focuses on voting rights, criminal justice reform, and racial injustice under the Brit Olam, our covenant to create a world in which all people experience wholeness, justice, and compassion. We provide refugee assistance through HIAS. We have been approached by many people how we're going to help those of our newest refugees from Afghanistan. Our HIAS liaison, Mindy Silver, is in close contact with HIAS. We will be collecting requested items once we confirm what is most needed. We expect to start the collection in October, and we're also going to look how we can help our friends and neighbors who were most affected by the recent storms. We'll send out communications when we have information for specific donations. We want to ensure that our contributions have the maximum impact on the actual needs. We have people on our committee who volunteer to pick up and deliver things as needed. Others help with specific collections or events. There's so many ways to get involved, so you can help make a difference. The Social Action Committee meets about once a month, and we would love to have you join us at our committee, on our committee and at our meetings. As we start this new year, we look forward to working towards Tikkun Olam, repairing the world together. Please help us help everyone. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Sharon, thank you. Linda and Sharon, thank you for that excellent presentation, and we stand ready, willing, and able to assist you and your committee in your vital and critically important work going ahead. Yasher kochachem to both of you. We are delighted at this particular point to call upon Linda and Sharon's predecessor, Sandy Bueller, immediate past co-vice president of Social Action, together with Joel Spiller, a member of the Social Action Committee. If they would please step forward at this time, they will be reading the Haftarah from Isaiah chapter 58, and to lead us in the brachot, we're delighted to call upon Sorachana, Sue Fleischman, to please do likewise. The blessing before may be found on page 275.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratzav v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'inviei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Please turn to page 277. Cry from the depths, says God. Do not hold back. Lift up your voice like the shofar. Tell my people their transgression and the house of Jacob their sin. Yes, they seek me daily, as though eager to learn my ways, as if they were a nation that does what is right and has not abandoned God's law. They ask me the right way, eager for God's nearness. They say, why did we fast and you do not see it? We afflict ourselves and you do not know it, because even on your fast day, you think only of desire, while oppressing all who work for you. Because your fasting is filled with strife, and with callous fist you strike. No, your fasting this day will not lift up your voice before heaven. Is this the fast I desire? A day to afflict body and soul, bowing your head like a reed, covering yourself with sackcloth and ashes? Do you call this a fast, a day worthy of the favor of Adonai? Is this the fast I desire? Is not this fast I desire to break the bonds of injustice and remove the heavy yoke, to let the oppressed go free and release all those enslaved? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and to take the homeless poor into your home and never to neglect your own flesh and blood?
Then shall your light burst forth like the dawn, and your wounds shall quickly heal. Your righteous one leading the way before you, the presence of Adonai guarding you from behind. Then when you call, Adonai will answer, and when you cry, will respond, I am here. If you remove the chains of oppression, the menacing hand, the malicious word, if you offer your compassion to the hungry and satisfy the suffering, then shall your light shine through the darkness, and your night become bright as noon. Adonai will guide you always. Slake your thirst in parched places, give strength to your bodies. You shall be like a well-watered garden, an unfailing spring. From you they will rebuild ancient ruins, lay foundations for ages to come, and you shall be called the one who mends the breach, and bring back the streets for dwelling. If you cease to trample Shabbat, stop pursuing your affairs on my holy day. If you call Shabbat a delight, the holy day of Adonai, honor. And if you honor God by not doing business or speaking of everyday matters, then shall you take pure delight in Adonai. I will lift up your journey on earth to the highest places and nourish you from the heritage of your father Jacob, for thus spoke Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol haolamim tzadik b'chol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'yoseh, ha'medaber kayim, shekol dvarav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'nevi'im ve'al yom ha'kippurim hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu v'imchila v'lislecha u'chapara lechavod u'tifaret ahakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach u'mevarachim otach yitbarach shimecha b'fi kol chai tamid li'olam va'ed u'dvarcha emet v'kayam la'ad Baruch ata Adonai melech mocher v'solech la'avonotenu v'la'avonot amo beit Yisrael u'ma'avir ashmotenu b'chol shana v'shana melech ha'kol ha'aretz mekadesh Yisrael v'yom ha'kippurim.
Yasher ko'ech sorachana. Beautiful. Kol hakavod. For the return of the Torah to the Ark, as we now proceed on page 291, we are delighted to call upon Mark and Shari Rosenberg and Mark LePatten and daughter Dana LePatten to please step forward at this time. Page 291.
"20 years ago this season, I was a second-year rabbinical student preparing to lead my first High Holy Day services. It was 2001, and I was studying at the Hebrew Union College campus in Lower Manhattan. With days to go before my first Rosh Hashanah sermon, mere blocks from me, the world went up in smoke as I made my way to my morning class. We gathered at the college chapel with national board members of the school who happened to be meeting in New York that day. And they led us from the Bima in Psalms, in Tehillim, from the Ketuvim section of the Tanakh, beseeching prayers of outcry for moments without words. Words like the despairing of Jonah. You cast me into the depths, into the heart of the sea. The floods engulfed me. All your breakers and billows swept over me. I remember thinking, so this is what we do. This is how religious leaders respond. They show us how to cry. I was so grateful to have Rabbi David Ellenson and the HUC leaders there to show us what to do. Not how to give blood, not how to check on our neighbors, not how to support the emergency crews. All that would come. And we knew how to do much of that kind of response anyway. But they first showed us a spiritual response. They taught me, green in my leadership, that prayer and presence are responses of comfort for moments of crisis. Prayer helps us bring words to the wordless in our lives. Presence reminds us that none of us are alone. And they both help us witness and hold each other's pain. Little did I know at the time how crucial this lesson would be for my work as a rabbi. The crises we face seem only to have grown in the 20 years since. We are in crisis now. Our world is in crisis. Our society is in crisis. Our lives are in crisis. How, in the midst of overlapping crises, a healthcare crisis, a health crisis, a climate crisis, a justice crisis, a crisis of democracy, how do we find a way toward wholeness? We are not strangers to crisis and destruction. In fact, we have evolved into creatures who are built to respond to crises. And through crises, we build resilience. Humans are wired for fight or flight, even as we have developed a world in which not every rustle in the bushes is a carnivore on the hunt. And as Jews, we have a long history of facing crises and finding meaning and even identity in the mire. I had the honor of learning some Torah this summer from Rabbi Amy Bernstein, which she learned from her teacher, Melila Hellner Eshed, through the Shalom Hartman Institute in Jerusalem. Rabbi Bernstein shared Hellner Eshed's teaching about the Hebrew word for crisis, mashber. It shows up in our tradition in many forms, each with the tripartite root of sh, v, r, shin, vet or bet, and resh. In our biblical tradition, this word points us toward situations of destruction, of the breaking of something that was once whole. In Isaiah, we read, Shtaim heina kortaich, hashod v'hashever. These two things are befallen thee, desolation and destruction, shever. And in chapter 60 of Isaiah, we find shever as well. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, desolation nor destruction, shever in Hebrew, within thy borders. In both places, Isaiah speaks of the destruction of the temple and the walls of Jerusalem. It is a lament for the wholeness of the first commonwealth that was lost. We also find this kind of breaking of whole things earlier in the book of Exodus, when Moses famously smashes the tablets of the covenant, the first tangible symbol of God's love for us. Here, the type of verb form of shever intensifies its meaning. And Moses hurled the tablets from his hands, and vayishaber, shattered them at the foot of the mountain. It is not merely a breaking, but a shattering into many shards. And this state of shatteredness, this is mashber, crisis. We are not just broken. The map of how to proceed is in pieces. As I walked through New York City on September 11th and 12th and 13th and 14th, and for many days after, a white snow of tiny confetti fell, teeny snippets of office papers, a letter F, half of the word dear, a truncated sentence, and even half symbols and slashed characters. Trillions of them for weeks. The map, the text, the age-old ways forward were shattered. When Moses shatters the tablets, he must write a new set with his own hand. We must make that covenant too. We, not just God, must take responsibility for this world. The people must gather up the pieces of the tablets. They are placed in the ark with the new tablets, made sacred, clanking as we journey on, lest we forget that our wholeness came of brokenness. All our loss creates an opportunity for resilience and new worlds. On September 12th of that fateful year, I began teaching a fourth grade Hebrew school class full of students I had never met. Across the hall, my friend Leah taught fifth graders. The billowing smoke was in full view still of her classroom windows on the east side of the river. I talked with my students. This one had a friend whose mom worked at the World Trade Center, but had been sick that day. So, concluded the child, God had protected her. Another's neighbor was supposed to be at work early, but missed the train, and so God protected him. Whether we are children or childhood is a memory, we fight so hard for theology in times like these. How can we understand these terrible things? Why do they happen? So many were not sick that day. So many did not miss the train. Who shall live and who shall die? Who by fire and who by stone? Who by flood and who by illness? But my friends, God does not pick those to save. This is not how our world works. God does not rewrite the broken tablets for us. We must rewrite our fractured story. We must gather the shattered shards, all the flecks of paper. We must let them float and jangle around the new world we are reconstructing. We are in crisis. Our world is in crisis. We are living in the midst of destruction. We run to gather the shattered pieces from the broken tablets. And yet, how do we build a new world? How do we emerge from shever, from brokenness, from mashber, from crisis? The thrust of living sometimes depends on crisis in order for us to grow, in order for us to emerge. There could be nothing new if we do not move through brokenness and build resilience. We are stagnant until we respond to brokenness. If it isn't broken, we don't bother to fix it. So, if nothing is broken, nothing will change. And if nothing changes, there can be no room for the young, no room for the new, no room for the promises of the future. In Isaiah 37, we read again of mashber. This day is a day of distress and rebuke and disgrace, as when children come to the point of birth, mashber, and there is no strength to deliver them. Rashi explains that Isaiah is describing a breaking, a mashber, that is likened to a woman sitting on the delivery chair, also called a mashber, who lacks the energy to give birth. Here they are talking about that moment of the birthing process when the birthing parent is depleted of all energy, when they are at zero, when they are done, when they have no strength to push any longer. This is the moment when life and death hang in the balance. It is the moment when either parent or child could come through alive or not. Diane talks about the moment when she was birthing her daughter. And she told the nurse, "I cannot do it." The nurse reached inside her and said, "No, absolutely not. We can do this. You and I can do this together." The nurse reached past the scrim of Diane's pain and helped her hold it and move through it. Sivan Harshefi writes a poem called Moda Ani, I give thanks. I read it to you in translation. On those stones of darkness, on the birthing stool, causing me to bleat with compassion, b'chamla. The contraction is a prayer, rhythmic, quick. I descend to the end points of mountains, then ascend. All that was closed opens. All that was open now closes. The Siddur, for example, lies prostrate. The heart, dilated to 4 fingers, contracts, expands. They're coming on quicker now. No time for words. The cry is the prayer, now that I am like an animal in the forest, howling. The heart, dilated to 7 fingers, comes clear. With my fingertips, I am already feeling for the sun that is rising. In the Zohar, we read that 2 of the supports of the celestial hall are held up by the cries of birthing parents on the mashber, on the birthing stool. It is these selfless cries that override evil befalling the world. The parent cries from unutterable pain, and yet this holds up the universe. These cries of selfless suffering on behalf of another make a space in the world in which the child can emerge. Our pain can build a new world. This day of Yom Kippur is like this pain. It is like this moment on a precipice. Our lives and our deaths hang in the balance. We are at the precipice of birth and sorrow, robed in white, as if for the grave. Concerns of flesh and its preservation left us hours ago. We may fail to find forgiveness. We may turn back from the change of teshuvah. We may shatter and crumble, breaking with the cries of our pain. The delivery of our souls may fail. But when we lean on one another, when we reach across the divide of another's pain, when we come together to hold one another's pain, we just may find our way to the birth canal. The gates of repentance will close. The sun will descend. The gates of forgiveness are all but shut. And yet, together, we can emerge. We can be born. We can uphold the world when we hold up one another in our darkest moments, in those moments of mashber when we could live or we could break. When I left my college on that 11th day of September, I had no idea how to offer comfort on the days of awe. How would I write a new sermon for Rosh Hashanah, now just days away? But the next day I walked around the city. I spoke to people. We checked on neighbors. We took care of children. We expressed concern. We honored and we grieved together. By sundown on the 12th, my sermon for Rosh Hashanah had written itself. I could provide a spiritual response. I could show how we share pain. I could lead prayer for experiences without words. I could be present, a witness to the crisis. My sermon was made up of the shattered pieces of all the stories I had met, of the pain I had shared and the kindness we had passed. Together, all our voices, crying out at the fulcrum of life and death, we could uphold the world. Being there for one another. The broken can become whole, my friends. It will be different. It will be tablets written in a new hand, but it will lead us forward on the next stage of our journey through the wilderness. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. Good Yom Tov. Our service continues on page 296. I invite you to rise.
Lama Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Vayimotenu Tzadikim Adachnu V'lo
Together. Together. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence, and when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. Be seated. We continue on page 299. For the sin we have committed against you through evading and avoiding, because we could not face the truth, we read responsively. For our flight into hypocrisy and deception, because we did not dare to speak it. For the facts we dissembled and all we glossed over, for the excuses we made. For feeding our bodies and starving our souls, for interfering with the souls of others and neglecting their needs, for shifting our responsibilities for reproaches and recriminations, for our foolishness, our folly, and false standards, for seeing these things only in others, never in ourselves, for our complacency which blinds us and our self-righteousness which lessens us, for calculating kindness and measuring out pity, for charity that is cold and prayers without feeling, for withholding our love, for the appeals that we ignored and the people whom we refused, for the affection which died and our lives that became bitter, for the visions which faded, the ideals we neglected, and the opportunities we lost, for the fear of change and renewal and our unbelief, for saying prayers aloud but refusing to listen, for being our own worst enemy. We continue on page 306. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. We pray silently on pages 308 and 309.
כי אדונך ואתה אלוהינו, אנו עבדיך ואתה אבינו, אנו עבדיך ואתה אדוננו, אנו כחלך ואתה חלקנו, אנו נחלתך ואתה גורלנו, אנו צודך ואתה רואינו, אנו אחריך ואתה נותרנו, אנו פעולתך ואתה יוצרנו, אנו דייתך ואתה דעתנו, אנו סגולתך ואתה קרובנו, Anu amecha v'atam Malkeinu Anu ma'amirecha v'atam ma'amireinu.
Please turn to page 317. Shema Kolenu Adonai Eloheinu. Shema Kolenu, hear our call, Adonai Eloheinu. And may we hear yours in our apologies and confessions, in the meditations of our heart, in the accountings of our soul. Hear our call, and may we hear yours in words of counsel and consolation, in the silence of one who listens, in the strength of a hand that upholds. Hear our call, Adonai Eloheinu, as we strive to hear yours on this day of the heart, this day of repair and healing. Please join with me on 318. Strengthen us this day. Amen. Bless us this day.
Amen.
This day exalt us.
Amen.
Show us kindness this day.
Amen.
Inscribe us this day for a life of goodness. Amen. This day hear our cry.
Amen.
Now and always support us with the strength of your righteousness. Amen.
Amen. Hayom tavarcheinu.
Amen.
Hayom tagadleinu.
Amen.
Hayom tidrasheinu letova.
Amen.
Hayom titechveinu lechayim tovim.
Amen. 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 Amen.
Hayom
tamseinu. Amen.
Hayom tishma shavateinu.
Amen.
Hayom tifecheinu bimin tzedkecha.
Amen. 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 Amen.
Hayom tamseinu. Amen. Amen. Hayom tamseinu. Amen.
Good Yantif. Rabbi?
Rabbi Tornberg, Cantor Zark, Mark, thank you for a beautiful and inspiring Yom Kippur morning service. I think to that we can all agree. Yasher kochachen.
And thank you.
On the contrary. Now, folk, before you go, very quickly, we take a break, although some of us, of course, are going to remain Nebuch in Shul. We resume at 1:30 p.m. in the sanctuary with our Yom Kippur afternoon family service, grades 1 through 5. K1 through 5, thereabouts, but the family service at 1:30. And then at 3 o'clock, at 3 p.m., we will be in the sanctuary, to all intents and purposes, alone for a very creative, radically different Yom Kippur Mincha service. We will not be using Mishkan HaNefesh. Rabbi Tornberg and I thank our dear colleague, thank Cantor Zark. She was the one who came up with the idea of engaging our spiritual senses in 7 kavanot. So we hope that you'll be with us at home. If you are, please make sure that you have a bowl of water and a towel, a dry towel handy. We'll supply you with all the other spiritual instructions that you are going to require. a very different, unprecedented mincha service at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
So just to clarify, there is no option to be part of that service in person. There are a lot of reasons for that, but if you'd like to join us, it's deliberately designed for an online experience. So please join us on the live stream.
Exactly. And then to let you know, of course, that the doors obviously will be open just before 4 o'clock. Sorry, my apologies. No, we finish at 4 mincha, and then at 5 p.m. we will begin our Yizka service. The choir will be back to join us at 5 p.m. for Yizka, and leading immediately into Ne'ilah at 6 p.m. And we want to thank Steve Rajewski, President of Brotherhood, and his committee for making sure that there are, what do you call them, grab and go, right? Grab and go. Breakfast bags that are available to us. So again, good Yontif to you, and at Tzomkal, a continuing, easy but meaningful fast to all of you, our dear fellow Beth Omnics. Good Yontif to you.
Good Yom Kippur.